Hi, welcome to the very first episode of this new channel that I just started today, January 1st, 2021. Exciting times. So, if you're brand new to this channel, you can just skip this video altogether because I'm not going to talk about anything interesting in this video. Or at least I'm not going to talk about anything in this video that really speaks to what the content of this channel is going to be about. I'm just going to talk about myself and explain to you why I started this channel. The reason I started this channel is because I've had this ongoing issue for a long time now where it's very difficult for me to speak, just to get through a sentence. I basically have George Bush syndrome, where my mind does one thing and my mouth does another. And although it can be pretty bad sometimes when I'm just having a face-to-face conversation with somebody, it's even worse trying to do it in front of a camera. And for a while there, I wanted to start a channel where I did tutorials on how to make knives. And I made a few attempts to do that, and they didn't go very well because I had just a difficult time speaking. And so I thought, well, I need to do something that's going to get me over this hurdle. And I thought about starting a podcast, and that would force me to talk all the time, to just speak. And I put that off for a really long time. I think it was like a year or two. I think it was over 2 years ago that I came up with that idea. But I decided recently I would try to do it this way. I don't know why I decided to do it this way, but this is how I'm going to do it. And I decided, well, I needed a topic. And so the only thing I can think of that I can talk about, or that I have something that I can say something about on a consistent basis, is the subject of Christian apologetics or Christian theology or Christian philosophy or something along those lines. That's something that's, as far as my intellectual interest, that's probably my greatest intellectual interest. I'm also interested in other things like, history, things like that, especially like North American history and the conflict between Americans and Native Americans and the wars that went on, after the Civil War, that period of time. But anyway, I'm not going to talk about that. So I don't really know why I have this problem. I suspect it has something to do with having social anxiety. I decided to call this channel the Introverted Christian instead of the Socially Anxious Christian, because socially anxious Christian just sounds like a little bit cramming too much into a title. So I said the Introverted Christian. As some of you are probably eager to say in the comments section, being introverted is not the same thing as being shy. So for those who don't know, the difference is that an introverted person is just somebody who, they may or may not like social interaction, but however they go, they eventually have to have some time alone to recharge their batteries. So whether you're an introvert or an extrovert has to do with where you get your energy from. Some people get their energy around other people, and that's an extroverted person. And some people get their energy from their alone time. I'm an introverted person. But I'm also, on top of being an introvert, I'm also a bit of a social phobe, which just means I get very anxious in social situations. I get very uncomfortable. And this changes with time. I mean, there have been periods of time in my life when I've gotten pretty comfortable around people, but it's like a muscle that I have to keep exercising or it atrophies. And there have been certain times in my life, now being one of them, in which I let that muscle, that social muscle, atrophy. And it's become very difficult for me to engage in social interaction. And I wonder sometimes if that is the reason why I have such a difficult time speaking, because of lack of practice or something. So I started this channel to get some practice and stuff. And as far as the content of this channel goes, I'm going to be talking about Christian apologetics. And I think the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to start at the beginning and just let me talk a little bit about what Christian apologetics is. Apologetics, or being an apologist in general, means that you defend a point of view or you defend a certain group of people or you defend an individual. It's basically anybody who's an apologist for something or somebody is somebody who advocates for that person or that idea or whatever. They defend it with arguments and reasons and stuff like that. And you can defend it in one of two ways. You can either, like if it's a point of view, you can give reasons for why you think that point of view is true, or you can answer objections to that point of view. You can call the first positive apologetics and the second negative apologetics. On this channel, my plan is to give a positive apologetic for Christianity. So I'm going to give an argument for Christianity. I'm not going to begin specifically with Christianity. I'm going to begin in the broad area of epistemology. Epistemology has to do with how we come to our beliefs or what our knowledge is based on, and how we justify our beliefs, things like that, how we're supposed to think, correct and incorrect thinking. So it'll include things like inductive and deductive reasoning. So it'll include a little bit of stuff about logic. And that may be really dry for some of you, but I think it's kind of an important topic to cover, because if we're going to be talking about a controversial idea, and let's face it, any religious idea is a controversial idea. Actually, any idea that has to do with broad worldviews is going to be controversial in the sense that there's going to be a lot of people that agree with it and a lot of people that disagree with it. So a big part of why we're all kind of exposed to the same information when we go out into the world, and yet we all come to different conclusions. And so there must be something rooted in epistemology that accounts for why we have these differences of point of view. So I'm going to talk a lot about epistemology in the beginning of this, which may be very dry to some of you, but keep in mind, I'm really not doing this for you. I'm doing this for me. And I don't want to stress myself out too much, so probably I'm going to leave the comment section open, but I'm probably not going to interact in the comment section very much. I may or may not read the comment section. It depends. I mean, if people are really nasty in the comment section, I'm probably just going to not read it very much. If you do want to engage me in conversation in the comment section, or if you want to, my email address is somewhere on the internet. You could probably find it if you search enough. But if you want to engage me in conversation about some of the ideas, the best way to do that is just to be reasonable, or to be polite, I guess is the right word. You don't come across with hostility or with a chip on your shoulder or something like that, because I'm probably just going to ignore you. But if you want to engage me in ideas, you can go to my blog. My blog is called Philo Christos. It's Philo, Christos, spelled like Christ, with a OS at the end of it. PhiloChristos.com. Or no, it's philochristos.blogspot.com. You can leave comments in the comment section of my blog, or you can leave comment sections here. I'm not guaranteeing you that I'm going to respond, but if you do want to interact with me, the best way to do it is to come across as an intelligent, reasonable person who wants to have a reasonable conversation, and don't just blow smoke, and don't just be nasty, because I'll just ignore you if you do that. And I'm not going to be nasty to you. Even if you come to the comment section and you just have some crazy idea that I think is absurd, I'm still going to treat you with respect. And I want to be treated with respect. I don't care how much you disagree with me or how crazy you think I am. If you want to engage me in if you want to just leave nasty comments and you don't want to engage in conversation, that's okay too. But if you want to engage me in conversation, God, I'm starting to get repetitive, aren't I? Oh, before we go, I want you to meet somebody. This is my cat. I named him Aristotle. He's almost 16 years old. He'll be 16 in March. But you need to know why I call this cat Aristotle. The reason is because Aristotle is one of my favorite philosophers. And one of my favorite things about Aristotle is book 4, I think, in the Metaphysics, where he starts formalizing logic, and he gives an explanation of the law of non-contradiction. And although he says that the law of non-contradiction is one of those things that cannot be proved, but it's also one of those things that shouldn't need to be proved. An educated person should be able to make a distinction between what requires demonstration and what does not require demonstration. And he argued that the law of non-contradiction is one of those things that should not require demonstration. But in spite of that, he nevertheless gave a couple of thought experiments to, I guess, to persuade the reader that this is something that you can know with certainty. I'm not going to go into that in this video. I've said too much already. But anyway, that's where we're going with this. Oh, I should also say, as far as if you're coming to this channel because you want to learn something about apologetics, that might be okay if you're a beginner, you're not familiar with it at all. But if you already are fairly familiar with apologetics, you're probably not going to learn a whole lot from this channel. I'm not going to say a whole lot that's new. A lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about is all over the internet already. It's all over YouTube. It's all in the books and stuff like that. The only area where I might have something new to contribute to apologetics is in the area of moral epistemology. That's something I have thought a lot about, and some of the ideas that I've come up with are a little bit different, maybe inspired by some things that other philosophers and apologists have said, but they're not the same thing as. So, but other than that, it's going to be pretty standard stuff. Oh, and if you want to know what my point of view is, I say that I'm a Christian, and I realize there's like a whole bunch of different kinds of Christians out there. In case you want to know what kind of Christianity that I subscribe to, I'll just give you a quick rundown. I'm a Protestant. I believe that there's one God who created heaven and earth, that he's absolutely sovereign, all-powerful, all-knowing, morally perfect. He created everything, and he has a purpose in everything. I think that sin exists. Everybody's a sinner. To sin just means to do what you shouldn't do or fail to do what you should do. So it's any kind of moral wrongdoing, any kind of immorality is a sin. I also believe that there's going to be a judgment. God is going to judge everybody. Yeah, I'm giving you too much detail here. I'm going to go into this in a future detail. Let me just say that I'm a Protestant, I'm a Calvinist, I'm a Trinitarian. So that's probably enough, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. All right, there you have it. So yeah, there you have it.